What's up, YouTube? It's Drew. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. I am just getting ready to prep some cards to send in for grading. And I thought, you know what? This is a good opportunity to get this on video and answer a question I get on Twitter all the time, which is how do you prep a card for submitting to a grader? Right off the top, I just want to note this is not specific to any one grader. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I've experimented with them all. I've played around with them all. I have some favorites for some certain situations and all that kind of thing. But this is just general advice that you're going to want when you're putting together your submission. The instructions are going to be pretty simple. Right now, what we're going to talk about are just some things to keep in mind when you're evaluating cards. Then we're going to get into the specifics, the nitty-gritty. How do we make sure that these check all the boxes that the graders are looking for? And then I'm going to talk to you about how we pack them up and ship them and get them over there. This is one example of a finished product, this awesome Jazz Chisholm First Bowman Chrome out of 250. I'm very high on Jazz Chisholm, stoked for that one. So let's get to it. Hey, look, first, right off the top, I just want to have you keep in mind that no matter which grading company you're going to, there's going to be a human being on the other end of this transaction. So when you're putting together your order and the shipping, we want to make their lives easier. We want to make it nice and simple for them. And then also, hey, that person may not see things exactly the same way that you do. It's just like anything else in this world. So just keep that in mind. There's a human being on the other end of this. And the other thing to keep in mind before we really get started is that sometimes there's things that are out of your control when it comes to these cards, okay? Sometimes there's going to be a dimple. Sometimes your card might be way, way, way off center. Sometimes it might just come out of the pack all torn up. There might be a dinged corner or something like that. Actually, this is a good example. This is a beautiful card, but I'm seeing, I think there might be a dimple on here. So this is a good example of what you do just kind of right off the bat. False alarm. False alarm. It's just on the, you can see actually right there, maybe the camera will pick that up. Just a little dimple on the penny sleeve. Anyway, but that's what we do. So just keep that in mind. Now, from a practical standpoint, from a more tangible standpoint, what you need to keep in mind when you're looking at these cards and evaluating them for grading are the 4 subgrades. Some graders do not offer those subgrades on their label. Here's an SGC label. I love SGC, but their label, they just give you that overall grade. Okay, that's fine. Some graders, here's an HGA label, they give you those subgrades, and they tell you exactly how it graded, right? So you get the corners, the edges, the surface, the centering. You probably already know this. You've probably already seen it, but those are the 4 things that we're going to be talking about in this video. The corners, the edges, the surface, and the centering. So let's pick a card out of this stack and let's go through the evaluation and prep process. What's one that we want to use? Where's that Bobby Dahlbeck? Let's use Bobby Dahlbeck. Let's get these over here. You'll notice I'm using a brake mat for this. I have a wood table under here. That's really just, even though I'm pretty careful with this stuff, really just taking every precaution. I don't want to drop the card. I don't want to accidentally scrape it or ding it or anything like that. Recommend that if you can, brake mats are pretty cheap on Amazon, you know, probably like 10 bucks or so. So I will take the card, I will get it out of the packaging that it came in and get this card right here. We're going to get it under the light. This is a nice Topps Chrome Rookie Auto for Bobby Dahlbeck. And just right off the bat, just kind of go through your checklist, okay? First, let's talk about the corners and the edges. Just eyeballing it, the corners and the edges look pretty crisp and clean. But I don't like to trust my eyes. My eyes have deceived me before. So what I did was I picked up a cheap little blacklight. This is something you pick up, again, on Amazon. I'm not in Amazon's pocket or anything. It's just an easy place to pick this stuff up. It's like eight or 9 bucks. Not a big deal. So what I'll do is I will take this, and this might be tough to really video. And actually, I think that this card doesn't have any issues here. So it's not going to make for great video here in this case. But I will run it over the corners and the edges and just see if anything kind of pops up. The black light will obviously light up any white. So if there's any whiting, anything like that, that would become evident. Look, they look like perfect corners and edges. There's no obvious issues there. That's cool to see. The next thing that I'll do is I'll use a centering tool, again, on Amazon. I swear, I'm not in Amazon's pocket. Centering tools, there are some that are a little different. Each one has their own set of instructions, but in general, what you're going to do is you're going to take this, you're going to drop it over the center of the card, and you're just going to kind of move this around and look at the numbers, and you're going to get a sense of whether this card is 50-50, or maybe it's 60-40, or God forbid it's 70-30, or whatever. You have to check the north-south, the east-west. You can also kind of eyeball it. With this specific card around the top's chrome, it's very easy to eyeball, right? It's got this clean border. You can kind of just see that, and it makes sense. Let's see if there's an example of a card where it's not so simple. Well, geez, here's one. Here's an Alex Kirilloff that I'm going to be submitting. How do you know where left, right, and center and all that kind of stuff is? It's very difficult. Keep it in mind, right? It's difficult for you to do. Even though the grading companies have an image database and they see these cards every day and everything, may also be difficult for them. So just keep that in mind. Those may be difficult for graders to figure out the centering on. So we've gone through this. We ran the black light. We've looked at the corners and the edges. We've done the centering tool, and we've determined, hey, it looks pretty close to 50-50. The last thing is surface, and this is really where you can have the most amount of impact. Now, just using the light, just going over the chrome surface, there's not a lot here. There's a little bit of dust here by his shoulder. I don't know if the camera, I'm going to try to get the camera to pick that up. There's no apparent smudging. There's a little dust up here. And so, look, what we're going to do is just set it down. We're going to grab a microfiber cloth. Again, a cheap pickup. Shouldn't cost you more than $1 or $2. Some breakers, hey, look, this is my favorite breaker to participate in, Grand Salami. Check them out on Twitter. They'll send you these with their orders. They're great giveaways. And just firm, but not too firm. You don't want to like mess with the card at all. You don't want to bend anything. You just go nice, solid wipes like this. Get that dust off there. I'm always nervous about touching an auto, even though it's been dry for months and months and months. Just always nervous about it. That's one thing you don't want to mess up. Okay, so pick this thing right back up. I usually give it a once over, not just under the light, but I'll also take the black light. Now this time I'll run it over the surface, and I will try to see if there's any stubborn dust. Again, the dust will light up white if there's anything. This looks perfectly clean. This is awesome. Okay, not a ton of work that had to be done on this one. Maybe it's a poor example. So once it's clean, we're going to put it into a brand new penny sleeve. Do not reuse the penny sleeve. Dust, all that kind of stuff will linger. You want to get it nice, clean jar right there. And then what I do, again, we kind of go back to that matter where there's a human on the other end of this, right? So they need to get this thing out of a top loader. You don't want to risk them damaging things. You can buy pull tabs. I don't buy them because I like to just make them out of tape. So I just took a piece of tape, I folded the edge over itself so you kind of have the person has a lip to kind of pull it off. And what I'll do is I'll take the card, I'll put this right on the front of the penny sleeve, press it down there, I'll fold it around, kind of fold it on itself, touch the back, squeeze it. You've got yourself a little makeshift pull tab. Now this is cool because now when you put it into the top loader, they'll be able to pull this and pull it out, safely and not have to risk, kind of wrestling that thing out. Then you also kind of give them this tab so that when they want to remove it to begin the grading process, you've made their life nice and simple. Here you want to just find, whether it's a new top loader, maybe you bought one of our really good top loaders from really good dot cards. Or maybe you're just reusing something, but use a clean top loader, load that thing in there, and you are ready to submit. Now look, we're going to take that one. We're going to take this one. We're going to take this whole rest of this pile. We're going to prep them like that. It takes just a couple of minutes. And then we're going to put some nice packaging around it, make sure that they're nice and secure, and we're going to submit this to your grader. And then we play my least favorite part, the waiting game. A couple weeks later, you're going to get a box. This one just happens to be from SGC, but they're all pretty similar. Crack this thing open so you can get a sense of what you should expect when you finally get those cards back. They do a nice job packing these. You can see here, extra padding around the inside box. SGC takes this opportunity to do some branding. They say, hey, it's tuxedo time. I agree, it's tuxedo time. Let's crack this open. You'll see inside, again, packed very securely. We've got some extra padding there. Pull these out. You'll see there's an invoice on the top. I'll just detail what you sent in. And they're here, they're stacked. They're rubber band together so they don't shift while in flight. Okay, kind of screwed up the rubber bands, but here we go. The top one you'll see has a loose graded sleeve cover. It's a good reminder. You're gonna wanna pick some of those up. I like the Beckett Shield ones, these ones. They're just nice. You kind of take them. Here, I'll put one on. It's a little funny to say, hey, you know, part of what we're doing with grading is protecting the card. And then it's in its protection. It's in its, it's in its case. It's in its slab. And here we are protecting the slab. But you're going to want to do it because you don't want these things to get scratched. But there we go. You kind of work your way through the order here. You can see this order. I did a lot of Juan Soto. A couple real, oh nice, Gem Mint 10. A nice Tatis. We got some Mookie Betts. This is really it. This is it. This is what you're going to expect to find. Maybe a 10 Gem Mint Aaron Judges in your future. We don't know. Really do take that extra step. Get them in those graded card sleeves. It's nothing worse than getting a nice card like this Ohtani Sepia graded, getting it protected, and then having the case get scratched. That's a tough one to swallow. Thanks for joining. That is the grading process. That's what we do here. If you have any questions, make sure you reach out. DrewCards_ on Twitter. You know how to get a hold of me. You know where to find me. Hit me up. All right. Thanks, everybody, and happy collecting.